Hey y'all, in this video, I want to talk about mental health and mental health as it pertains to Black women specifically. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Marissa Price. I am a Black woman social worker helping you heal, understand, and expand, and I'm so glad you're here. So I wanted to talk about this because I see all of these posts floating around that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And one of the things that has always bothered me about Mental Health Awareness Month is that the systems that we live in that create so many of our mental health issues, whether it be anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, a lot of the issues that we experience related to mental health are caused by these inflexible, oppressive systems that we have to navigate. And as Black women, we know that we experience oppression from multiple angles. We experience anti-Blackness, we experience sexism, misogyny. If you are LGBTQ+, you experience homophobia, transphobia, classism, ableism, fatphobia, colorism, texturism, featureism. All of these things compound. And for Black women, it creates, even these more severe mental health consequences. So I think it's really important to always bring that perspective in when we talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. It's not just, go to therapy. We know that therapy is not accessible in the United States, right? Therapy is often very expensive. And, if you're privileged enough as I was to have an employer, albeit a toxic employer, that provides you with, free sessions under what's called an employee assistance program, where you can get those, initial free sessions. I got 8, and I was able to start therapy when I was going through a really difficult time at my job, which is ironic because it was my job that offered the free mental health support. But if you're able to take advantage of that, I would highly recommend doing that. Again, it's called the Employee Assistance Program. So you can look up in your company's policy and see if you have that benefit that you can take advantage of. So if you're kind of hesitant about starting therapy, if you don't have the funds, because again, therapy is extremely expensive, this will give you kind of that boost and give you those initial free sessions to get started. It's not nearly enough. And that's one of the things, about I can only speak from a United States perspective. It's the only country I've lived in. But if you are able to take advantage of that, totally admitting and stating that that is not nearly enough, but that employee assistance program really does. It helped me. It helped me at least. So if you can, look into that. But getting back to the original topic, I wanted to talk about how in the world we are supposed to navigate mental health as Black women. We know that there is such a stigma on us even saying, oh my God, I'm experiencing depression. I'm experiencing anxiety. The stigma on that, and especially we're looked at as being like the strong Black woman, right? The anti-Black, sexist, misogynistic trope that is often put on us, and we internalize that as we don't ever need help. We don't ever need help. And so it leaves us, and I'll speak for me, kind of floating in our own heads all the time. All of these thoughts, all of these feelings, just floating there, in nowhere to put them. So experiencing the, insomnia. And when we're talking about toxic jobs, this is where this really plays a huge role. I had insomnia for months at my job. Months. I could not fall asleep. And if I fell asleep, it was for an hour, and then I woke back up because I had a memory of like, oh no, that did not happen. She didn't say that to me. So if you can relate to that, let me know in the comments. But it would wake me up out of the sleep. And I ended up being diagnosed with major depressive disorder by my therapist And being a social worker and having just a smidge of knowledge about the diagnostic statistic manual, which is the manual that's used to diagnose mental health conditions, I have to say that diagnosis doesn't fit the more I look into that. Because literally all of the symptoms of depression I was experiencing were directly related to the abuse that I was experiencing in my job, the lack of support I was experiencing, the overworking, the taking on an extra role and not feeling like I could set boundaries because no one told me I could set boundaries in the workplace. So a lot of these diagnoses that we receive as Black women do not take into account our unique experience in a country such as the United States. And again, this issue is global. I always want to make that known. But I can only speak from a United States perspective. Just merely existing as a Black woman can cause symptoms of depression. And it's a lot. Sorry, y'all had to take a quick break because that was a lot for me to even talk about right there. But it is a lot. And we are thrown out into these places, into these systems that do not support us. And then we are told something is wrong with us when we struggle to keep going, when we don't have time to rest. We're not given time to rest. We have to take our rest, which is horrible. It's horrible. So we're living in these systems that are like causing all of these issues. All of these mental health issues do not naturally exist. And that's one of the problems that I have with Mental Health Awareness Month. Because it individualizes. Sorry, y'all. Really loud car. But first, it individualizes the symptoms that we're experiencing, which completely overlooks the systems that we live in. Because the more I have learned from Black women in toxic jobs and Black women experiencing mental health issues, the more I realize my symptoms are the same as this person's. There's a pattern here. And if there's a pattern here, we know that there's larger forces at play, that these don't naturally exist, that all of us experiencing depression, isolation, loneliness, anxiety at the same time, that's not happening for no reason. So all of that to say, if you are a Black woman experiencing mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, ADHD, OCD, etc., know that you're not alone. Know that this is not an individual issue. It's nothing you did wrong. It's not a personal failing. You are trying your best to navigate impossible systems that create so many of these issues. And you are doing an excellent job surviving. And we need you here. We need you here. One of my goals with this channel is to help eliminate that stigma surrounding mental health when it comes to Black women specifically, because I have seen the power that exists when we are able to openly, honestly share what we have been through, share our stories, and how much power it takes away from oppressive systems, which is always something that we should be seeking to do. The more of us who know that we're not alone, the more that we're able to see patterns in what we are experiencing as a collective, it really helps eliminate the scary, secretive nature of oppressive systems. And the truth is, they don't want us to share. People in power do not want us to share with each other what is happening to us, how we're being affected emotionally, how our mental health is suffering in these jobs, in these places, in these countries, in these relationships. They don't want us to discuss that. The more that we internalize that shame that they project onto us, the less likely we are to know what we're going through, to see our struggle as a collective one. And that really maintains their power. So I think there's tremendous value in us sharing our stories, sharing our mental health struggles, and connecting them to these larger oppressive systems so that we can begin to see, okay, I'm experiencing this, she's experiencing this. That tells me there's a larger issue going on. Then we can begin to see the cracks in the system to begin to dismantle it, because none of us deserve to experience these things. We're not put on earth to experience all of these mental health struggles, and they're not natural. They're not. So that is my message. That is my goal, to eliminate the stigma, and just create more safe spaces for Black women to tell our stories. There are not enough spaces in this world that exist for us to just be human, for us to just share what we've been through authentically, to connect with each other in a safe and supportive space. There are not a lot of those spaces. So my goal is really to create one of those spaces with this channel, with healing circles I plan on hosting, with communities I have some ideas on creating. But in the meantime, if you have any ideas for content you'd like me to create, please put it in the comments. And if you've made it this far, feel free to like, subscribe if you want to, share it. That would be awesome. And yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. And just know you're not alone.